Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 3 of Pick and Pop. I am one of your two hosts, Mauricio. I got my co-host Andy and Nate, the first special guest of Pick and Pop, my boy Josh. You want to say a few things, my boy?
I'm excited, man. I like what you guys been doing. I heard the first two podcasts, so dope.
Yeah.
Hey,
I like that. I like that.
shit.
Okay. Oh man, we got a lot to talk about today. We
Yes,
really
sir.
do.
Yes, sir.
So let's get going.
Seems like every week we got a lot more on the plate. I think we just start off with the biggest controversy going on in the NBA right now,
Hmm.
and it's the soap opera going on over there in Brooklyn. With the Nets. Starting off with just them firing Steve Nash. I felt like the writing on the wall was my boy with the Nash poster in the back. The writing on the wall was there for a while. I agreed with a lot of like the guys in the media saying that initially when they said we don't even need a coach, I feel like that probably was like the first little hint that we got that that situation wasn't gonna last very long. To be honest though, if you really look at his coaching record, it's not like disappointing. Like
Yeah.
KD is one size, like one shoe size under for making basically the conference finals. So, um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I feel like he caught a lot of heat for no reason. But what do you guys think about them hiring Nash? And then we'll talk about who the candidates are for next up.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Uh,
take this one because
Go
it's my
ahead.
boy.
Go ahead.
What's it
That's what we were
called?
waiting for.
So Nash is my favorite player of all time. There's another conversation we're gonna have later on, but about the greatest team to never win a championship, and Nash never got a ring while he played.
Mhm.
Um, him as a coach, I will say, watching last year's playoffs, him making like certain decisions to like sub players out, like when they were hot or when they were doing like certain like dirty work on the court. That I was like, oh, that's needed right now. Like, why are you subbing them out? They've only been in the game for like 3.5 minutes. Started the second half. You should have let that energy stay on the floor and keep going. He would take people out, and I couldn't stand it sometimes. So I will say he made a lot of like errors as a coach in like crucial moments. But he's still a young coach, so I hope he finds another spot somewhere else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good, Mauricio.
Yeah. So, my opinion on the Nets firing Steve Nash is, I think it was necessary. Uh, there was a clip that somebody said that Nash said that they're not listening to me, and that's a problem. If your players are not listening to you and you're the coach, that's a big issue. You need to be able to. You're the leader. You are leading this team. You're not the leading player, but you are the coach. Everybody has to listen to you. They got to follow the plays that you put down. Um, that's one of the things. Obviously, like Andy mentioned, them saying that they don't need a coach. Another red flag right there. And just there was just a lot of shit going on in Brooklyn. Also, KD did ask for Nash to be removed as well. It's just it's a move that needed to happen because Brooklyn needs a change.
Mhm.
And I think that's a start to the change. And obviously, I'm gonna let you continue on to the next part of that.
I agreed that Brooklyn definitely needed a change, but I don't necessarily think I agree with Josh about maybe some of the schemes and some of the things that his especially his substitution pattern I think was definitely off. But it's also having guys in and out of the lineup. There's a lot of guys injured, so imagine now having to bring back Seth Curry, Joe Harris, Markeith Morris, Patty Mills was getting more time, and you have four younger players who are second years and rookies that are all have extreme talent. I mean, two of them just got assigned to the G League. So I don't know. There's definitely a lot going on, but I think out of respect for who Nash is in the basketball world as a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards ever, I think he was done a little dirty. So I'm glad he's out of the situation because Nash is a really good guy. If you listen to
Yeah,
his interviews and you listen to the way that he speaks and the way he's respected around the league, I don't necessarily think the Nets players disrespected him. Like I don't. What I'm saying is I don't necessarily believe that they didn't respect him. I think it was like there's just too many egos on that team, and Nash is
Yeah.
not the personality to like control those kind of egos because they all know what he did on the basketball court, but obviously it's a different conversation. So there's a lot of rumors about who they're hiring next, and I found it a little bit sus that the first name that came up was Ime, because I feel like what happened was, and this might be, some insider information, but I think when they found out that Udoka was available, I think they fired Nash immediately. I think I trust Jacques Vaughn enough. I think he's actually a pretty good coach. He's a better assistant, in my opinion. I don't think necessarily he's going to be the head for very long, but I think he's good enough. But I feel like as soon as they heard Udoka was available, they fired Nash. And, if that ends up being the new coach, can Udoka, you know, put all those personalities together and control those egos? Maybe. The other ones on those lists were Quinn Snyder, which
Mhm.
I like. And then obviously Mark Jackson is still out there, but Mark has been in coach talks for it seems like 6 years now, and
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I don't know if any team wants to pick up Mark Jackson. So, in your guys' opinions, if you had to pick one of those coaches, who would have the best shot out of those three? Or would you say that Jacques Vaughn, leaving him, where he is? What do you think about that?
What are the options again?
So it was
Udoka.
from the top is Ime,
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Snyder, now that he's not with the Jazz. I think he's still under
Mm-hmm.
contract with the Jazz, but he's not with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Mark Jackson.
You go first, Josh.
Ime Udoka. I think he's a good fit. Just from what he did with Boston. Like there's some egos over there, and you see how they all play. Like you can't even tell sometimes who's the leader out there. Like we all know it's Jason Tatum, but in the playoffs, I thought it was Jaylen Brown,
I
and
agree with that.
Definitely.
that comes from coaches just like, hey, listen, like this is a team. Like you serve the team, you don't serve yourself.
Yeah. I gotta say, Snyder. I like him. I remember what he did to OKC. He's a good coach. He knows what to do. I think that would be a great option. In my
Because he
opinion.
coached Russ.
Huh? No. He coached Donovan Mitchell the series where they beat Russ and Paul George and Carmelo.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. I remember. Oh, I remember the defensive sets they set on them, bro. Oh my god.
I definitely agree with the Ime. I think they're both pretty good. Quinn, he reminds me of like, I'm not gonna say the Wish version of Pat Riley because that's not. It's not.
Mhm.
It's definitely not what I'm trying to say. But Quinn is mafia like that. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
got attitude. He's one of those coaches that garners respect just because of the way
Hmm.
that he speaks. And
Yeah.
there's no like, and Mark, I mean, New York native. I think all three coaches would work well. It's just there's a lot of personality on that team. But the only problem is that the personality does not come from like the whole team in a sense cuz young players are always going to have their things. It's really KD and Kyrie because Patty Mills came from the Spurs system. If anybody's coachable on that team, it's Patty Mills. Okay?
Yeah.
Royce O'Neal is a professional, and he showed it this season that he's their glue guy. He's like their Draymond. He can give them 20, but there's also games where he has 10 points, but he has 2 blocks, 2 steals, 8 rebounds, like 6 assists. Like he's been crucial. I like Utah. I call him Utah, but Yuta Watanabe. Um, I feel like Asian players always play really hard for some reason. They're just extremely disciplined, and I like him a lot. But all these guys, I feel like are coachable. The young guys, they're coachable.
Yeah.
Guys like Seth Curry, like I don't think there's a lot of ego on the team. It's just their stars. But if your stars are off the straight line, the whole team, your leaders have to be focused and have to be composed because that throws off the rest of the team. Um, we won 2-0. Like we won two straight. We were watching the game yesterday at the bar.
Yeah.
So is that
Good
Jacques
game too.
Vaughn? Maybe, but I think everyone's just playing their roles, and KD's just doing what he does. The teams weren't great that we beat, but it is what it is. We'll see if we can keep our heads above water to get Kyrie back, and then if we hire Udoka, Snyder, Jackson, or we continue with Vaughn, it doesn't matter. When Kyrie comes back, we'll see. We'll see how to steer this ship straight because right now it's just even with the 2-0 start from this point of since Kyrie got suspended, it's still not all sunshine and rainbows over there, so
Yeah.
Agreed.
They got a lot going on.
straight up.
Yes, they do. Okay. So moving on. Um, Giannis and the Bucks. Just first of all, Giannis's dominance this season. What do you guys think?
Guy's a monster.
Go ahead, Josh. You got
Go
that.
ahead, Josh. You start.
The guy comes back a little bit bigger every season. It's not noticeable, but to me, he looks a little bit bigger from last year, just like a
Yeah.
tiny bit. And I'm like, how do you get more Aki after you're like the Aki 7-footer in the league?
Literally.
Yeah.
His shooting is getting better, and like the evolution of basketball is real. And I say this to Mike a lot. I was like, when we're older, I think there's gonna be guys that are built like Giannis that can shoot like Curry.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just wanna, put in there, Victor. He's 7'4".
yep.
Moving crazy, bro.
And every time I say that, people say KD, and I'm like, KD's like this. No offense to KD, but
Yeah.
he's straight. He's really skinny.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And no, these guys are getting much better, much more athletic. The
Mhm.
bigger, stronger guys are learning how to have more finesse
Mm-hmm.
and better dribbling. So he's doing great things this season. The Bucks are 9-0, so they're off to a perfect start.
Yeah. So we hear a lot about like 3-point percentage, when it comes to NBA players and how shooting is everything and how it's just absolutely necessary for a player to know how to shoot.
Yep, today's
Giannis
NBA.
is shooting 27.6% from three. He's probably not even on the list for qualified shooters in terms of reading off those stats, but that is extremely poor 3-point percentage. However, he is shooting 55% from the field, averaging 32, 13, and 6 with a steal and a block and a half a game. Like he just fills up the stats in ways that I just don't understand. Like obviously we see Jokic putting up these crazy numbers, but I feel like every single night Giannis is just 44 and 16, 33 and 18, like just something insane every time. And my MVP pick that we talked about in the previous episodes was Luka, and that is going pretty well. I'm not saying that that's out of the picture because obviously Luka's still dominating. We're not going to get into him this episode, but we're definitely going to have segments in the future talking about how good Luka is because I think he deserves an entire episode by himself the way he's been playing. But Giannis is right behind him. I've said it. I'm very adamant about saying that Giannis is the best player in the world. Just what he does on both ends of the floor. There's no other player that does it like he does. Does that translate to the playoffs? Not all the time, and that's how it's been in the NBA. But he has his ring already, and I think we talked about it, Mauricio, but he's going to finish with at least 4, in my opinion. So he's just going to get better. He's only, how old is he now? 27? He's 27. So he'll be 28 in December. And he's in his prime now, so we're in the Giannis era right now. And yeah, 100%.
I agree with everything that you both have said. Giannis is just a fucking monster. He he's a Greek freak, man. He just comes back bigger, stronger, faster.
Dude's
I do
insane.
see him improving in certain areas every season. During the playoffs, they play him different because they try to play to his weaknesses. But even then, like he always finds a way around it.
Mhm.
I do agree. This is the Giannis era, and the Bucks are literally 9-0. Like
Mhm.
I think they're the only undefeated team in the NBA at the moment. So that's just crazy to think about.
Mhm.
And Chris Middleton is not even back yet either.
Oh.
So that team's just gonna get stronger once he's back. So them being dominant, I see them maybe the finals again, the way it's looking currently.
All right, so I mean, before he gets too happy, we got to talk about the way that Mr. Russell Westbrook has been playing off the bench. We got his little nickname BenchBrook. So I'm gonna hand it over to Westbrook himself. How you feeling about your boy, man?
You're annoyed. Nah, man. I'm very happy with the way everything's going. Currently, I am watching the Cavs Lakers. It's 80-80. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock. And Westbrook has been doing great off the bench. Exactly what I said in episode 1, that I felt like he needed to come off the bench because the Lakers needed that second punch off the bench. I said it, like I said. When they played the Warriors bench completely dominated the Lakers bench, and they did need that extra scoring coming off the bench. So in the past 4 games, not counting the current game that's happening right now, he has been 28, 3, and 6 with 64 from the field, 13, 7, and 9, 60% from the field, 18, 8, and 8, 50% from the field, and 18, 8, and 3. Like he's just been doing what he has to do off the bench.
Mhm.
there's two types of offense now going on with the Lakers. Obviously, you got LeBron's when he starts it off, and then you got Westbrook's fast-paced offense off the bench. So, and he also gets the other guys involved too. It's not as much ISO ball like I've been seeing lately with the Lakers at the end of games with LeBron. He just tries to ISO it out, and teams have been able to stop that. I need to see more out of LeBron. He's been playing pretty bad lately, and I hope he gets better.
Yes, he has.
Yeah. I think LeBron's gonna recover though. My biggest problem with that whole team is AD. I think AD is the biggest problem on that team.
Facts.
Yeah, like Russ, Russ is he does what Russ does. He kind of like plays in his own world. I was telling Mauricio that I forgot when it was, maybe like a week or two ago, but they're up two with like 37 seconds left. And this guy is there's 37 seconds left in the clock, and there's about like 19 seconds in the shot clock, and this guy takes an early shot.
The
But
mid
you're up.
range just ran up and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just run up
that was
and
a
take that
bad
shot.
shot.
Yeah.
You're a veteran, man. You know better. And the game's not about you. It's not about your points and your scoring. Yes, maybe you wanted to like really demoralize them and close them out, but you didn't start off to a great season. And you as a veteran have to understand that every game counts.
Yep.
Yeah, that was when he was still in the starting lineup. After they took him off, that's when his numbers started going up.
Yeah.
Currently in the game, he's 14, 1 block, 2 steals, 10 assists, and 3 rebounds.
They
Like,
look better with him coming off the bench.
yeah,
AD is now going to get really exposed because they can't blame Russ for starting anymore.
yeah. Oh, he's also a +10 currently,
Mhm.
which is crazy.
I think obviously the stats are the stats, but the biggest thing for me with Russ is what you were mentioning about his field goal. I think when he was starting and the way that they were trying to play him, especially even last year, being that jump shot dependent, as a coach, you have to understand what your players are good at and what your players aren't good at. And I think the way that he's been attacking the basket, bro, I don't care if you're 33, 34 years old. Even D Rose still gets to the hole. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
Russ can still get to the hole and finish on anybody. So it's like, why was he settling for jump shots? Just drive it. He's been shooting a lot better from. I trust him at the field goal line now a lot more too.
oh yeah, his free throw percentage has gone up
At the
compared to
free
last
throw,
year.
yeah, pardon me, but that's his game. If he just attacks and kicks out, I like how he's playing with that second unit, and it just looks like he has a lot more confidence now because he realized I don't have to stand behind this 3 point line. I don't have to sit in this corner.
Yeah.
Like worst case scenario, I'll play in the dunker, but just go over to that wing and just drive. They still can't stop you inside that Euro. They still can't stop that.
Yeah,
Like, I like that his field goal percentage is high because he's doing what he's good at. And those forcing jump shots, that's just where he was getting most of that negativity from because it's like, bro, you don't need to be out there. There's no reason
yeah.
for you to be out there. So,
I agree. I agree with what you're saying there, but also, like last year, he wasn't playing his position. Like he wasn't playing point guard. Start of the season, he wasn't playing point guard. Now you give him the ball. Now he has the ball in his hands. He runs that second unit. You literally can see the rust like from Houston, Washington, OKC. Like he's going
He
north
needs
to south.
control.
Yeah,
He
he
needs
needs to have the
control.
ball. Yeah. So
mhm.
now
It's
that
the
he has
only
it,
style sorry to cut you off. It's the
are
only
you good?
style of basketball that he knows. Yeah, so for Jason Tatum and Boston right now, they look great. They're not the Bucks, they're not 9-0, but Boston is 6-3.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
with that record and what they did in the playoffs last year, Jalen Brown looks good this year. Al Horford pissed me off when he hit those 6 threes. I'm still not over that. But Jason, we were talking about the leaders of Boston before, and
Yeah.
Jason Tatum, but in the playoffs it looked like it was Jalen Brown.
Mhm.
But I think Jason Tatum didn't allow that to like affect him or to
Mhm.
question his leadership on the team. He decided, you know what, Jalen Brown is a straight killer, kind of like Kobe, where he can get a bucket
Mhm.
whenever he wants. He let Jalen Brown, develop and take over that role. And he was like, I'm gonna make sure that everybody else is doing all their other parts. And I think Jason Tatum and Boston look really good this year to compete with Milwaukee,
100%.
the East, the East.
Boston is definitely a threat. Um, Jason Tatum has been playing nice. Jalen Brown's also nice, but Jason Tatum is just nasty. Let's pull up his stats real quick, Andy.
Right now, he's averaging 30, shooting
Okay.
50% from the field and 38% from three, so not bad. He's averaging 38 and 4, a steal a game and a block and a half a game. So obviously he's one of the better two-way players in the game. I would say that behind Giannis, it's probably him if you're talking about both ends of the floor. He's one of them, bro. He's one of those wings that's going to be really good for a really long time. Obviously, I follow him and all of my Duke boys. We make NBA players at Duke. You know what I'm saying? We might not win every
Mhm.
year, but we make these NBA players.
Yeah.
So just seeing I definitely agree with it. He didn't let it affect him. Jaylen Brown's just a dog, so he was gonna do that regardless if Jason Tatum was on one. If he wasn't on one, he slowed down a
Yeah.
little bit going into the finals. But I still believe in that duo. I really like that duo. I think that could be one of the most dynamic wing duos we've ever seen. They're just both so talented, and to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
honest, like last
And they
time I
have
saw, 100%.
Yeah. That whole argument about splitting those two up was like bullshit in my
I
opinion.
hated that. I hated hearing
No,
that.
because like you said, he didn't let it affect it. In Boston, I don't think it's 1 and 2. I think it's 1A, 1B. Because like they don't mind it. They don't mind switching that role. Obviously, we saw it in the playoffs last season. Jaylen Brown took over when Jason Tatum wasn't feeling it. Like they were also locking his ass up. They had Wiggins on him. Wiggins did really good. But that didn't matter because Jaylen Brown, like who was gonna be able to stop Jaylen Brown if they get off of Tatum? Like
Yeah.
they
100%.
that team is nice, and I'm excited for Jason Tatum season this year.
And they got
Obviously,
Robert Williams.
yeah. Is he back yet, or is he still hurt?
Uh,
He's
no,
not
I
back
don't think
yet,
so. No, I
Yeah.
don't think so. But
but
soon, hopefully.
he's a big part of that team.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, most definitely.
Very big key for them winning. Let me ask y'all a question.
Go ahead.
Do you think Jason Tatum is going to be a long-term Celtic? Like off of what you guys see about his like character, do you think he's going to be one of those players that after his contract's up, he's frustrated, maybe a lot more Eastern Conference Finals finishes, maybe another second place in the finals. You think that'll
Mhm.
frustrate him to maybe say, "Look, Jalen, you're a monster, but unless we get a third guy here, I got to go get with somebody else, maybe a big man." Could you imagine like in the future something like
I
Jason
could,
Tatum
'cause
with like a Jokic or something like that, like
yeah,
some crazy like that?
he's a pretty boy, so I could see him out in LA or New
Yeah,
York, to be honest.
Mhm.
yeah,
I could see him going somewhere with the big market.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's loyal to the Celtics. Like that's the team that drafted him, and he's seen success with this team. So obviously, being frustrated not getting to the championship, it sucks. But at the same time, I think he would stay. They've been every season they change certain things, and the team looks better.
Mhm.
Um,
And it seems
so
like they're building it around him.
Yeah.
yeah, around him, yeah, definitely. So I
He's
think he could
he's their
stay.
guy, yeah, for sure. And they have one of the better like management
Mhm.
in the NBA. So everything's there for him. I just hope that, he stays with that old mentality and his mentor's mentality that,
Mhm.
I got drafted here and I'm gonna win it. I'm gonna leave it all on the floor here. And I
Yeah,
can
Yeah.
he's on pace, to be a Hall of Famer. He just gotta win his accolades. So
Yeah.
definitely.
we'll see what
Um,
happens with that.
yeah. Also, another point to that is like whenever something happens with the Celtics, you always hear Jaylen Brown in trade talks, and they
Hmm.
always say Jason Tatum's untouchable. So
Right,
that's another point in like they're building that shit around him.
for sure. Yep.
All right, so now introducing the first clip of plays of the week, we got Luka Doncic just putting somebody in the meanest blender of all time.
I love the way that Christian Wood plays with Luca, man.
Ooh, ooh,
Oh
nope.
my god.
Hey, hey,
Oh my
oh,
god.
damn,
Bro, that's all
Flash.
net, bro.
bro, that's
Oh
the
my
he
god.
put him in the blender, bro.
That's all
That's it.
net, bro. Jesus.
Ah, damn.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, Luka's
Gotta
cold,
watch
bro.
the that shit's insane. Oh my god. So moving on to clip number 2, we got KD with the sickest crossover this season so far. I'ma call it the pancake, cause my boy was just on the floor calling for his mama. Like this was just unbelievable. Oh.
Bro, hell no.
Oh my god.
I want to see what.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
They just lays there. For the third clip, we have Jason Tatum just dunking on Cleveland, force OT.
It's always offense and defense with this boy. Oh,
Right
That was
there.
a football cut.
On one of the better shot blockers in the league too, man.
That shit was crazy, bro. Just
My goodness. Like I said, it's always offense and defense. Look at him right here.
This is block over
This
here.
jump's perfect. That oh
what a
my
block.
god.
Great
What a
defense.
block.
I'm glad that they didn't call the foul. That was great, D.
Just JT, man.
Just picks him up. It's like he's so strong. He's just sliding with him. Jumps perfect.
Yep. And that's the stuff that like
Ah.
Jalen Brown. Jalen Brown's a killer, but Jason Tatum, that's where he dominates, man. Just holding their best players from scoring.
Yeah.
Guys,
100%. 100%. Here's an interesting question. This came up yesterday at the bar, but I wanted to kind of go into it a little more because this is a tough one and it's a little closer than we might think just reading it. But really think about this. We'll start off with Josh. The better backcourt. We have a lot of great backcourts in the NBA. You know, that guard position is very rich across all the teams. But these are two of the most dynamic in the East. So for you, Josh, DeJounte and Trae Young, or Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell?
Ooh. I think Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell have more potential.
Mm.
I think that Cleveland looks good right now, man.
Yeah.
Cleveland looks so good. And they're so young and they have a good group. I saw DeJounte Murray hit that buzzer beater. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah, he hit a buzzer beater for them to win it.
Mm.
And that for a young player, that's not easy, especially when you have Trae on that team who can shoot from the logo.
Yeah, for sure.
The guy creates so much space. I like Trae Young. I just don't think Atlanta has it, like as a team. So for me to say the best backcourt between the two, I got to go with Cleveland and Darius and Mitchell.
Who do you think is the best player out of the four?
Between Mitchell and Trae, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with Mitchell just because of size, because he can play both sides of the court.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Mauricio.
Shit, man. I agree with Josh. But the thing is, I agree with it, even though it's very early for me to say that I agree with it, because Darius Garland just got back from injury. He's been out a few games, and still, from what I've been seeing with the game that I'm currently watching too, that backcourt is crazy together. Trae Young and DeJounte are also very tough. I think they would be a tough out in the playoffs. But I think that once they see the Cavs backcourt against Atlanta's backcourt, I think the Cavs backcourt will come out on top.
I would say it is tough, but we're gonna go 3 for 3 here, and I'm gonna have to give the nod to the Cleveland boys only because Darius is an underrated defender, and I think Mitchell, because of his athleticism, the way he slide his feet, bro. If you squint and you look at Don, it's D Wade. It's just like if you squint and look at him, it's Dwayne Wade. Like the shit that we're seeing from him as he's gonna get better, he's just gonna like plug a hole in D Wade, like let a little bit of air out and then plug it like right back in. Like that's Donovan Mitchell at his best. He's a monster. I think Mitchell is the best player. However, I think Trey's a better point guard than Darius is. He can definitely pass the ball better, but just him being a liability defensively, that's the biggest problem. DeJounte makes up for his defensive liability, and DeJounte can also score the ball. He's shifty. He has good handle. He's quick, but he's coming off of injury as well last season. So, you know, Seattle, they make ballers out there. He's got that dog in him, but I agree with the Hawks not being where they need to be in order for them to have the success. I mean, Cleveland's 7-1 right now. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It just goes to show they're deep, bro. Like 1 to 12, like they just have talent all around the board. I'd be forgetting that K Love is on that team, bro. And K Love just lit. Who did they play? He had like 20 and 11 the other game, bro. K Love still
Yeah,
has gas in the tank. So it's like, having a veteran like that with championship experience around those guys and Mitchell, who I feel like every time when he's got the everything's going for him, he's tasting that championship. It's just a few more years before, Donovan continues to show. Because I feel like out of all the young stars, he's probably the one that gets talked about the least. We're
yeah.
always talking about Trey Young and what he was doing in New York. Obviously, Giannis is not necessarily a young guy anymore, but he's the best young
Below
star.
30.
Right. But under 25, Luca, Jason, Shea, and all of them, they always get a little bit more noise. And
Mhm.
Donovan has his own signature shoe, bro, and they're not even talking about the man like that. But he's putting the whole league on notice right now. So we're gonna go
Yeah.
3 for 3 on that one, and we're gonna say Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell
Yeah.
for sure.
Currently, uh, Cavs are up 11 on the Lakers with 10 minutes left in the fourth.
Damn. They're disciplined too. Cleveland's a disciplined team. They got a
They're
good coach
good.
They
over
They're
there.
are.
young, man. They're
They're
so young.
they're
They
not
play
gonna let
together.
that lead go, unfortunately.
They
I
play
don't even
together.
want to like talk about maybe Braun closing that game because he's just been disappointing me. So
Okay, so now it's time for question of the day. So today's question, right? Which is the greatest team to never win a championship? I want to throw it off to you, Andy. Let me know.
there's a lot of teams that you can put in this. There's always those teams that in any given year were the third or fourth best team in the league, and they could have easily made the run, whether they had the best record, the deepest roster. So I'm gonna throw it back a little bit. And a lot of these players that I'm going to mention, not all of us are going to know everybody.
Mhm.
But this is one of the teams that almost gave the Lakers, the 2000 Lakers, a problem. And I'm going to go with the 2000 Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
From top to bottom, let me read off this roster to you. I'm going to just give off the stars first. They had Jermaine O'Neal in his prime. Scottie Pippen outside of his prime, but still a very good wing during that time. Rasheed Wallace, who is one of the most underrated players of all time.
2004 champion.
Unbelievable. That Detroit team, huge part
Yeah.
of it. You had role players like Greg Anthony, Stacey Augmon, Damon Stoudemire, Smitty, Steve Smith, Sabonis, Big Sabonis, Joe Klein, Gary Grant, Brian Grant, Antonio Harvey. So a lot of these older guys, they were just so deep. A lot of these names, a lot of our viewers may not know, but bro, that team was so deep, and they were so together, and they took the Lakers to 7. And we all know the iconic lob to Shaq, Kobe to Shaq. He gets past Pippen, lobs it up to Shaq, throws it down. Shaq's pointing up to his family in the box. That was the finals right there. Whoever won that series was going to win the championship. And yeah, I mean that's what happened. That was their first that was the first one of the 3P, right? The 2000 one? It was 2000, 2001,
Oh,
2002.
yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
And
was
then
the
he doesn't.
first one.
And then they
So
didn't win it again until 2009.
that would have been a ring for probably Portland there cuz Jermaine talked about it recently, the way that they were beating Indiana that year. And the Lakers beat them 4-2. Indiana was tough. They definitely had a deep roster. Reggie was still out there doing his thing, but I think Portland would have definitely done them maybe even worse than the Lakers did just because of their play style. Because obviously we know how the Lakers were playing. You're dumping it into Shaq. If the triple quad team doesn't come in, I mean, you're dead every time. And even if Shaq gets stopped for whatever reason on that block, you pass it out to a young Kobe. There's really nothing you
Mhm.
could do with that duo, but they pushed them to 7 games. So that's my pick. I think Portland is extremely underrated. And I didn't want to give one of those like basic answers out, so throw in a little bit of basketball history in there. Why not?
Okay, okay. I like the answer. I like the answer. Okay, so Josh, tell me, what team do you pick?
Well, we were talking about the guy earlier. He just got fired from the Nets, but Steve Nash. And 2005, I believe, Phoenix Suns. They
Mhm.
had just, I believe, acquired Steve Nash for, I think it was Stoudemire. No, Starberry. What's his
Starberry,
name?
yeah.
Yeah,
Stephon
Stephon
Marbury.
Marbury. Yeah, Stephon Marbury. And I love that. I love transition basketball. So seeing them like run up and down the court, also playing both sides. Nash got 2 MVPs with that team. And so just to be a guard and to be able to do that and to see that, like, listen, the smallest guy on the court is putting in that kind of work. I thought that team, they definitely should have won it. But they went against some big dogs.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
they definitely
For
did.
Yeah,
the
the
defensive player of the year, you were talking about Sean,
no, I think if I'm not mistaken, I
or,
could be wrong about
or was
this.
it Amari?
I think I'm thinking of somebody else. I think I'm thinking of another guard. Um, I think I'm thinking of John Stockton. I think I'm mixing the records together. But regardless of the defensive player part, he was definitely he was MVP for both seasons, and
Hmm.
he was the #1 defending point guard for the 2005 season.
So you
Okay.
would go with that. I like that answer actually because they were deep, bro.
Yeah, they
Uh,
were a good team.
yeah.
You have Steve Nash, Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Aja Bell.
Joe Johnson
Um,
was on that team.
Joe Johnson was on that team, and that's when Joe Johnson was nice.
Quentin
Uh,
Richardson.
wow,
Yeah,
yeah, Clay Richardson.
they had a team
Uh,
out there for sure.
yeah, and that trade happened after Detroit won it. In Detroit, that was
Hmm.
like the greatest defensive team I've ever seen like play and win a championship. They were phenomenal. Besides Jordan, with Scotty and Rodman.
You know what sucks about a lot of these teams before we go into Mauricio's? The fact that they just ran into the Spurs. Like that I feel like that's what a lot of teams like that's their
Yeah,
biggust downfall. It's like, "Oh, we were really good, but then we ran into Tim Duncan." Like I feel
yep.
like that's
Tim
what happens all the
Duncan,
time. Tim
Tony.
Yeah.
Duncan, Manu, Tony, like nah, bro. I feel like that happens all the time with a lot of these
And
teams.
Popovich is he's a real puppet master. He's an
Yeah.
amazing coach.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so
Here
I'm pretty
comes
sure
one.
we know what team I'm gonna say. The 2011-2012 OKC team that lost to the Miami Heat. That was a pretty young team with young KD, young Westbrook, Harden off the bench. That team would have definitely. I feel like that team should have won. And then obviously a lot of extra shit happened after that season to OKC where they couldn't keep the team together. But I really think that team should have won a championship together on everything.
Hmm.
Mhm.
In my opinion, with OKC, I think they, I think they hit the ceiling. Like we talked about this like the other episode, but if they would have beat Golden State that year, I still think they lose to Cleveland.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm talking about the 2011-2012 OKC team, the team that lost to Miami.
Oh.
Bron's first ring.
Oh. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, the point kind of still stands. I think
Yeah.
like to
It's
keep
Cleveland
that team
answering.
together, you
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
had
man.
to. It was doable. I think not paying the
Mhm.
luxury tax was unbelievable. I don't know why you would do that, but I don't think James
Bro.
Harden turns into James Harden on that team.
Exactly. Yeah. They had to
So
Mhm.
separate to become
I
who they
I
were.
definitely think so. Like they made a decision, and they definitely weren't trading Russ during that time. So
No, they
it was
weren't.
either like, you know, it's either you keep one of the two because maybe Durant and Harden would have developed into something,
Mhm.
but I think that team as it was constructed probably hit its ceiling because the older you get, the bigger the ego gets, and you have 3 stars. People think that Harden doesn't have an ego, bro. Harden has a big ego.
Yeah.
People think he doesn't like being the guy. He loved being the guy in Houston. Trust
Mhm.
me when I tell you that.
Of course he did.
So I like the pick though. I think that team was definitely very talented. If you look at who they beat that year to get to the
Bro.
finals, although there is some context because there was like a lot of hurt players in the West that
Yeah.
year, but they definitely did their thing. It's just
They were really underrated too. They had Serge Ibaka,
yeah,
Perkins,
Mhm.
right?
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
but
They had a lot
they
of
had
vets, a lot of bigs.
yeah, Nick Collison,
Yep,
Derek Fisher.
yeah, a lot
They
of
had
vets, a lot of smart vets.
they had Reggie Jackson on that team too.
Young
Like,
Reggie Jackson,
Maybe,
yeah,
yeah, it was a tough team, man. I really think that they could have won.
for sure. But again, just like how we talked about the Spurs, a lot of teams is like, well, we ran into LeBron. So it's
Yeah.
like can't do anything about that. Like Al Horford, we were talking about him in every interview. He's like, "Hey man, like I just kept running into LeBron. Like I feel like there's nothing wrong with that." Like I remember when he said that, I was crying laughing. He's the
Yeah,
only one that's like really honest about it. He's like, "Look, bro, it's LeBron
yeah,
James.
no,
Like, what are you gonna do?"
bro. Josh even says it, bro, when he talks about like the '90s teams that they all just ran into Jordan. Like,
Literally.
you always
Sometimes
run into somebody.
you just gotta pat yourself on the back. It's like, hey,
Yeah, you
Can't
tried
do
to.
anything
That's
about that
funny.
shit.
yeah, you got me.
Yeah. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes episode 3 of Pick and Pop with our special guest, Josh, my boy. Any last words, Josh?
Um, yeah, man. Thank you guys for inviting me out here. This is dope. I love basketball, so Mauricio knows he's at my house all the time, watching games, and we argue. Like he'll say stuff like
Bro.
this point, I'll listen to him. I'm like, you're full of it, but I don't want to curse too much on here. But I'm usually like coming after him, like, what are you talking about? How do you not see this? Um,
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of battles.
and every time I've had conversations with Andy about basketball, like the first time I met Andy, I'm like, oh, he likes basketball. Maybe I don't think he would know it like that because I played and I grew up in the basketball community, so I played throughout. And talking to you, I'm like, oh shit, like he actually knows a lot for somebody who I never thought that you would play basketball like that.
hmm
Um,
That's the thing
yeah.
that I hear the most,
See any
especially
questions you
arguing
come
with
up
old
with?
heads.
Yeah, I do want to give you credit, man. That DeJounte Murray, Trey Young, Darius question, that is
Mhm.
a great question because that's something that like these guys on Undisputed and First Take, they're not even talking about, man.
Yeah.
They only want to talk about the Lakers, the Nets, Kyrie, Nash, Udoka. They only want to talk about bad things when they're
Right. They
happening.
want
Ben
to talk
Simmons,
about the views, 100%.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly, just to get views. So I like that. Like the things that you guys are talking about are actual like hits, like actual points for basketball. Nice
hmm
Yeah,
job, guys.
appreciate it,
Appreciate
man. Thank
that,
you so
brother.
much. Andy, any last things you want to say?
To his point, I do have to give credit to Lemaire for that question because he was talking
Yo,
about it yesterday. We just wanted to expand on it because it was so, it was such a good point, and really what Josh is talking about. We mentioned in episode 1 how genuine we want to be with this shit, and we don't want to be like every media outlet that's just looking for the controversy, looking for the views.
Yeah.
We're starting off and we're putting our effort into this and making sure that we're doing what we can to put out the most genuine content out there because there's a lot of bullshit, man. Josh, I
yeah.
don't know if you peeped, but on TikTok there was like this clip of this guy saying that if you rank the top 75 of all time, that Kobe would be 75th on that list.
Oh, I can't even
You
listen to
like
those.
you can't even. It's like, bro, why are you uploading this? Why is
Even
this
the
out
people,
here?
even the NBA people who came up with the top
Yeah,
75, like a lot of it is ego, and the
yep,
people who were in control of the list were like, no, this was our time, and we know these
yep.
players. I'm sorry, man. Guys from the 90s, that was Jordan's era, and that was a great era of basketball. They can't compete with people from now. It's a different game. These guys are bigger, stronger, faster, more finesse. They couldn't compete in today's game. I
Bro,
don't care about the rules.
you can
Like these
hack
players.
Giannis all you want when he's running down the floor. Send him to the line. Go ahead and foul out because he's not stopping. You can't stop that. There's no one that can stop that. I don't care. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
But that's it from us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those top 3 plays. We covered a lot of stuff. Tune in next week. Every single week, every Monday at 8 p.m. We're going to be releasing our podcast. We have a lot of stuff cooking. We appreciate all the feedback. Shout out to the people on the TikTok showing a lot of love. Shout out to people on Instagram. Shout out to all of the homies who've been showing us love and helping us, giving us good words and ideas. And it just seems like everybody's really engaged. And it really shows that we have a lot of people that care about us just everywhere. And I really appreciate guys like Josh, coming over and being our first guest. But this is not the first time or the last time you're going to see him, I should
Definitely
say.
not.
I promise you that.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, but like Andy said, and like Josh said, this concludes our episode. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Well, Pick a Pop signing off. Peace, guys.
Peace out.